Most men don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're undirected. They keep adding more goals, more plans, more motivation videos, but nothing actually changes. Because the real problem isn't effort, it's that their energy has no structure. They wake up busy, scroll a little, work a little, think a lot, and at the end of the day, they're exhausted, but not improved. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If your life doesn't have a training system, it will become a distraction system. You don't need more hacks. You need one discipline that forces you to grow. Physically, mentally, financially, emotionally. Not 10 hobbies, not random interests. One axis that organizes your chaos. In this video, I'll share 10 hobbies that do exactly that. Not for entertainment, not for escaping life, but for forging a different version of you. Each one builds a specific form of strength: focus, composure, presence, endurance, leverage. Pick one. Commit for 6 months, and your nervous system, your confidence, your income trajectory, they won't be the same. Because men don't rise by thinking differently, they rise by training differently. 1. Boxing, the discipline of pressure. Most men think boxing is about violence. It's not. It's about pressure management. Because the first thing boxing teaches you is this: your body can stay calm while your mind is screaming. You step into the ring, someone is moving toward you, fast, unpredictable. Your heart rate spikes, your breath shortens. Your instincts want to flinch, freeze, or rush. This is the same nervous system response you feel in real life. Before a difficult conversation, before a risky decision, before confrontation, before public failure. Psychologically, boxing is exposure therapy. Your amygdala, your brain's fear center, gets activated. But instead of escaping, you stay. You breathe. You learn to move with control under stress. Over time, something rewires. Your baseline stress tolerance increases. Your reaction time improves. Your emotional spikes flatten. You stop panicking. You start observing. This is why fighters often feel calm outside the gym. They've trained in chaos, so normal life feels quiet. The Stoics had a word for this: apatheia. Not numbness, but freedom from being emotionally hijacked. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Boxing forces that principle into your nervous system. You don't get to think about courage, you embody it, in real time, with consequences. A real-life example: most men avoid conflict by over-explaining, over-apologizing, overthinking. Boxers don't do that. They learn to read signals, make small adjustments, stay centered, no wasted motion. And slowly, this leaks into everything: meetings, relationships, business negotiations. Even silence feels heavier. Not because you're aggressive, but because you're grounded. Here's the philosophical punchline: boxing doesn't make you dangerous. It makes you unshakable. You stop reacting. You start responding. And once you master external pressure, you're ready for the next enemy, the one inside your own mind. 2. Journaling, the discipline of mental order. Most men think journaling is for emotional people, writers, therapists, teenagers with feelings. They're wrong. Journaling isn't about expressing yourself. It's about controlling your internal environment. Because the real problem most men face isn't lack of intelligence, it's mental noise. Too many thoughts, too many open loops, regrets from the past, anxieties about the future, unspoken conversations replaying in their head at 2 a.m. The mind becomes a crowded room, and when the room is crowded, no one is in charge. From a psychological perspective, journaling is externalized cognition. You take thoughts out of your head and place them in front of your eyes. This does something powerful. It slows thinking. It creates distance. It turns emotion into language, and language into structure. Neuroscience shows that naming emotions reduces amygdala activity. In simple terms, when you write what you feel, the emotional charge weakens. You stop being inside the storm. You're now looking at the storm. That's control. Marcus Aurelius essentially journaled every night. What we now call meditations was never meant to be published. It was a private operating system. He wrote to himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That's journaling, not venting, not complaining, but examining the lens through which you see reality. A real-life example. Most men don't know what they want. They say they want success, money, confidence, freedom, but when you ask them to define it, they freeze. Journaling forces precision. What am I avoiding? What am I actually afraid of? What did I waste time on today? What one decision would make tomorrow easier? These questions expose patterns. You start noticing the same triggers, the same excuses, the same self-sabotage loops. And once a pattern is visible, it's no longer unconscious. That's the real power, because you can't discipline what you can't see. Philosophically, journaling is modern Stoic practice. It's the art of self-observation without self-hatred. Not judging yourself, not motivating yourself, just recording reality accurately, like a scientist studying his own mind. The punchline is simple. Most men are controlled by thoughts they've never examined. Journaling flips that. You become the observer, not the reactor, not the victim of your moods, but the one holding the map. And once your mind becomes ordered, you're ready to build a body that matches it. Which brings us to the next discipline, the one that teaches you consistency through pain. 3. Weightlifting, the discipline of delayed reward. Most men lift weights for aesthetics, to look stronger, to feel more confident, to get respect without saying a word. But the real transformation of weightlifting isn't physical, it's temporal. Weightlifting teaches you how to live inside delayed reward. You walk into the gym, you pick up something heavy, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good, and nothing changes. Today, no instant gratification, no visible progress, no applause, just effort and soreness. From a psychological standpoint, weightlifting trains your dopamine system. Most modern habits, scrolling, gaming, junk food, give fast dopamine. High pleasure, low effort, zero patience. That conditions the brain to expect reward now. Lifting does the opposite. Low pleasure, high effort. Reward arrives weeks later, sometimes months. This rewires your brain's relationship with time. You stop asking, "How do I feel right now?" You start asking, "Who am I becoming?" That's a fundamental shift in identity. The Stoics called this ascesis, voluntary hardship, choosing difficulty on purpose. Not because it's heroic, but because it makes you harder to control. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Weightlifting is that principle in iron. A real-life example. Most men quit goals not because they're impossible, but because results are invisible for too long. They start businesses, quit in 3 months. Start diets, quit in 2 weeks. Start learning skills, quit when it gets boring. The nervous system can't tolerate silence between effort and reward. Weightlifting fixes that. You learn to show up without feedback, to trust the process without emotional reinforcement, to work without proof. And something subtle happens. You become less impulsive, less reactive, less dependent on motivation. You stop negotiating with resistance. The bar doesn't care how you feel. The weight doesn't care about your mood. The iron doesn't argue. It just waits. Philosophically, this builds what Stoics valued most: inner authority. You no longer need external validation to continue. You validate yourself through action. The punchline: weightlifting doesn't make you strong, it makes you consistent. And consistency is rarer than talent, rarer than intelligence, rarer than ambition. Once your body learns consistency, you're ready to apply it without equipment, using nothing but your own mass, your own discipline. Which leads to the next practice, the one that removes every excuse. 4. Calisthenics, the discipline of self-mastery. Most men think calisthenics is just a cheaper version of the gym. No equipment, no machines, just push-ups, pull-ups, and bodyweight drills. But that's missing the point. Calisthenics isn't about minimalism, it's about ownership. When you train with weights, you rely on external load. When you train with calisthenics, you are the load. Your body becomes both the tool and the resistance, which means there's nowhere to hide. From a psychological perspective, calisthenics builds intrinsic discipline. You can't blame the gym, the weather, the machine, the schedule. You either show up or you don't. This is why calisthenics creates a different identity. Not someone who works out, but someone who trains anywhere. Neuroscience-wise, bodyweight training improves proprioception. Your brain learns to map your body in space. Balance, coordination, control. You stop moving like a passenger inside your body. You start moving like the driver. The Stoics would call this autarkeia, self-sufficiency, the ability to function without dependency. Epictetus taught, "Don't seek that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen." Calisthenics embodies that. No perfect conditions, no special setup, no excuses, just gravity and your will. A real-life example. Most men delay growth waiting for the right moment, the right gym, the right program, the right equipment, the right phase of life. Calisthenics eliminates the waiting. You can train in a bedroom, a park, a hotel, a prison yard. This creates something rare, continuity. Your discipline no longer depends on location, so your identity becomes stable, and identity is more powerful than goals. Philosophically, calisthenics teaches you this. If you can't control your own body, you won't control much else. Not your time, not your attention, not your impulses. The punchline is simple. Calisthenics doesn't build muscles first. It builds self-command. You stop outsourcing responsibility. You stop waiting for permission. You stop needing ideal conditions. And once you master your body in silence, you're ready to master something louder, something that exposes your mind under temptation. The next discipline, one that reveals how you actually think. 5. Chess, the discipline of impulse control. Most men think chess is about intelligence, being smart, thinking ahead, outplaying your opponent. But chess isn't a game of IQ, it's a game of impulse regulation. Every time you sit at the board, something subtle happens. Your mind wants to move fast, to react, to attack, to do something, and chess punishes that. One impulsive move, and 10 minutes later you're losing a position you didn't even understand. Psychologically, chess trains executive control, the part of the brain responsible for delaying action, holding multiple variables, and suppressing emotional responses. This is the same system you use when you don't reply to a message immediately. You pause before making a financial decision. You choose silence instead of ego. Neuroscience calls this the prefrontal cortex. Stoicism calls it hegemonikon, the ruling faculty of the mind. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Chess turns that into a daily drill. You feel pressure, but you don't move. You observe. You see a tempting move, but you calculate. You lose a piece, but you don't collapse emotionally. You stay. A real-life example? Most men sabotage themselves not through big mistakes, but through small, impulsive decisions. They reply too fast, spend too easily, commit too early, react too emotionally. Chess exposes this pattern mercilessly. It shows you how often you move without full information, How quickly you abandon long-term strategy for short-term relief. How ego blinds you to reality. Over time, something changes. You become slower in a good way, more deliberate, more patient with uncertainty. You stop needing immediate closure. You tolerate not knowing. You think in positions, not emotions. Philosophically, chess teaches strategic detachment. You care about the outcome, but you're not controlled by it. You make decisions based on structure, not mood. The punchline: chess doesn't make you clever. It makes you dangerously calm under complexity. You stop confusing action with progress. You stop confusing speed with intelligence. You stop mistaking emotion for insight. And once your mind learns to wait, you're ready to learn how to speak. Not louder, but with more weight. Which brings us to the next discipline, the one most men underestimate and need the most. 6. Communication, the discipline of presence. Most men think communication is about talking better, saying smarter things, having good stories, sounding confident. It's not. Real communication is about how much weight your silence carries. Because the truth is, people don't respond to your words. They respond to your state. Your nervous system speaks before your mouth does. If you're anxious, people feel it. If you're seeking approval, they sense it. If you're calm, grounded, unhurried, they adjust to you. Psychologically, communication is emotional regulation in public. It's the ability to stay centered while being seen, judged, misunderstood. Most men collapse here. They over-explain. They fill silence. They talk faster when uncertain. They give reasons nobody asked for. Not because they're stupid, but because they're uncomfortable with space. Neuroscience shows that humans subconsciously mirror nervous systems. If you're rushed, others feel rushed. If you're tense, they become tense. If you're calm, they slow down. This is called emotional entrainment. You don't lead conversations with words, you lead them with regulation. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let your speech be better than silence, or be silent." Not poetic advice, strategic advice. A real-life example. Two men say the same sentence, "I'm not interested." One sounds defensive, the other sounds grounded. Same words, different presence. One creates conflict, the other creates respect. Because communication isn't persuasion, it's positioning. When you're regulated, you speak slower. You interrupt less. You choose words more carefully. You don't chase reactions. You become harder to manipulate, harder to rush, harder to emotionally hijack. Philosophically, this is inner sovereignty, the ability to remain yourself inside social pressure, not dominating, not pleasing, just existing without distortion. The punchline: communication doesn't make you influential. It reveals whether you already are. And once your presence stabilizes, your voice gains weight. Not because it's louder, but because it's rare. Which brings us to the next discipline, the one that feeds your mind with better material, so your thoughts stop recycling the same shallow inputs. 7. Reading, the discipline of mental nutrition. Most men treat reading like a luxury, something you do when you finally have time, on vacation, before bed if you're not too tired. But reading isn't leisure, it's diet. And most men are mentally malnourished. They consume headlines, tweets, clips, hot takes, opinions layered on opinions, fast information, no structure, no depth, no hierarchy of ideas. The mind becomes reactive instead of reflective. Psychologically, your brain forms itself around the inputs it receives. This is neuroplasticity in its simplest form. What you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes your default mode of thinking. Short content trains short attention. Outrage trains emotional thinking. Noise trains confusion. Reading long-form material does the opposite. It forces sustained focus, linear reasoning, delayed understanding, conceptual patience. You stop jumping between thoughts. You start following them through. The Stoics considered reading a form of daily training, not to feel smart, but to sharpen judgment. Seneca wrote, "Reading nourishes the mind and refreshes it when it is wearied by study." Notice the word nourishes, not entertains, not distracts, feeds. A real-life example. Most men struggle to articulate what they believe. They have opinions, but no frameworks. They know what they dislike, but not what they stand for. Reading gives you conceptual scaffolding. You borrow the mental models of better thinkers. You inherit centuries of pattern recognition. You gain language for experiences you couldn't previously describe. And language changes perception. Once you can name something, you can work with it, challenge it, refine it. Philosophically, reading is how you upgrade your internal operating system. Not with more information, but with better questions. The punchline: reading doesn't make you knowledgeable. It makes you harder to fool, harder to emotionally manipulate, harder to socially pressure, harder to mentally colonize. You stop thinking in slogans. You start thinking in structures. And once your thinking slows down and deepens, your body becomes ready for a different kind of stress. Not internal, external. The next discipline, one that strips you down to breath and motion. 8. Running, the discipline of endurance. Most men think running is about cardio, burning calories, getting lean, improving health metrics. That's surface level. Running is about staying with discomfort longer than your mind wants to. Because after the first few minutes, the real opponent appears. Not your legs, not your lungs, your internal voice. The one that says, "Slow down. You've done enough. This is pointless. You can stop now." Psychologically, running trains distress tolerance, the ability to remain functional inside mild suffering without escaping it. This is a critical skill, and most men don't have it. They escape discomfort through scrolling, snacking, porn, distraction, busyness, any signal of unease, and they numb it. Running removes the exits. You can't negotiate with the road. You can't shortcut your breath. You can't talk your way out of fatigue. You just keep moving. Neuroscience shows that steady-state endurance increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This improves mood regulation, cognitive clarity, and emotional resilience. In simple terms, running makes your mind less fragile. The Stoics saw endurance as a moral muscle, not physical, existential. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Running is that realization in motion. You learn that discomfort doesn't kill you. It informs you. It shapes you. It passes. A real-life example. Most men quit difficult projects not because they fail, but because the emotional friction becomes unbearable. They don't collapse from workload. They collapse from internal resistance. Running teaches you how to stay, to keep going while bored, uncertain, unmotivated, slightly miserable, which is exactly the emotional state of long-term success. Philosophically, running trains existential stamina, the ability to inhabit effort without needing it to feel good. You stop needing progress to feel motivated. You become motivated by the act of showing up. The punchline: running doesn't make you fast, it makes you durable. Harder to mentally exhaust, harder to emotionally quit, harder to psychologically escape. And once your endurance is real, you're ready to apply it where it actually changes your life. Not just in the body, but in income, in leverage, in the direction of your future. 9. High-income skill, the discipline of leverage. Most men think money problems are income problems. They're not. They're leverage problems. Because working harder doesn't change your life. Working on the right skill does. A high-income skill is any ability that solves expensive problems, scales with the internet, is not tied to your physical presence, improves with thinking, not hours. Things like copywriting, sales, coding, design, automation, video editing, AI systems, digital marketing. Psychologically, learning a high-income skill forces identity shift. You stop seeing yourself as labor, you start seeing yourself as a problem solver. This is a massive internal upgrade. Most men are trapped in what psychology calls a fixed value identity. I am my job title. I am my salary. I am what my boss says I am. A high-income skill breaks that. You realize value is not given, it's built. Neuroscience-wise, skill acquisition increases dopamine in a different way. Not from pleasure, but from competence. The brain rewards mastery more deeply than entertainment. This creates long-term motivation instead of short-term stimulation. The Stoics believed wealth should come from internal assets, not luck. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." But modern translation is this: real wealth is portable power, a skill you can take anywhere, apply in any market, use under any system. A real-life example: 2 men lose their jobs. One panics. He updates his CV, waits for permission. The other opens his laptop, starts freelancing, consulting, building, selling. Same event, different identity. One depends on systems, the other creates options. Philosophically, a high-income skill gives you economic sovereignty. You're no longer emotionally dependent on a single institution, a single paycheck, a single gatekeeper. You stop negotiating your dignity for security. The punchline: a high-income skill doesn't make you rich. It makes you unemployable in the best way. You no longer fear being replaced. You no longer fear starting over. You no longer fear uncertainty. Because uncertainty becomes opportunity. And once you have leverage, there's only one discipline left. The one that turns everything you've built into something that compounds without permission. 10. Content creation, the discipline of strategic expression. Most men think content creation is about attention. Views, likes, followers, algorithms. That's the shallow layer. Content creation is about clarity under exposure. It forces you to think in public, articulate what you believe, defend ideas with structure, compress insight into language. Psychologically, this is cognitive integration. You don't just consume ideas, you organize them. When you create, you confront gaps in your thinking. You notice contradictions. You realize what you don't actually understand, which is uncomfortable and necessary. Neuroscience shows that teaching information activates deeper memory encoding than passive learning. In simple terms, you only truly learn what you try to explain. The Stoics practiced this constantly. They wrote, they spoke, they debated, not to impress, but to refine judgment. Marcus Aurelius didn't publish meditations. He clarified himself. A real-life example: most men have opinions, but they can't express them cleanly. They feel things, but can't articulate them. They know something is wrong, but can't explain why. Content creation forces precision. You stop hiding behind vagueness. You either understand or you don't. And the internet becomes a mirror, not of your popularity, but of your thinking quality. Philosophically, content creation is intellectual accountability. You stop outsourcing meaning. You stop repeating borrowed beliefs. You become responsible for your own worldview. The punchline: content creation doesn't make you visible. It makes you coherent. Your ideas align. Your voice stabilizes. Your identity sharpens. You're no longer just consuming reality. You're shaping how you relate to it. And that's the final transformation. Not louder, not richer, not more admired, but more integrated. You become a man whose actions, thoughts, and words finally point in the same direction. At some point, a man realizes something quietly unsettling. He's busy, but not building. Informed, but not grounded. motivated, but not transformed. And the reason is simple. He's been collecting interests instead of committing to a practice. 10 podcasts, 5 goals, 3 routines, 0 integration. The mind stays scattered, the body stays reactive, the future stays vague. But look at what these 10 disciplines actually did. Boxing taught you how to stay calm under external pressure. Journaling taught you how to bring order to internal chaos. Weightlifting taught you to live inside delayed reward. Calisthenics taught you self-command without excuses. Chess taught you to pause instead of react. Communication taught you to regulate presence. Reading taught you to feed your mind properly. Running taught you endurance and discomfort. High-income skills gave you leverage. Content creation gave you coherence. Different surfaces, same direction. They all trained one thing: the ability to remain stable while life applies force. This is what the Stoics meant by strength, not dominance, not confidence, not control over others, but control over your own nervous system. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That line isn't philosophy, it's a blueprint. Because once your mind becomes calm, your decisions become clean. Your emotions stop leading, your identity stabilizes. You stop asking, "What should I do with my life?" and start asking, "What kind of man do I train every day?" Here's the one principle that makes everything in this video work. Don't optimize your life for comfort, optimize it for coherence. Pick one discipline, just one, not because it's trendy, not because it's impressive, but because it forces you to show up when you don't feel like it. 6 months, no negotiation, no switching, no collecting. Let the practice reshape your nervous system, your identity, your default state. That's how real change happens. Quietly, repetitively, inevitably. If this way of thinking resonates with you, this channel exists for exactly that reason. Not motivation, not hype, but mental training for real life. Like the video if it gave you clarity. Share it with someone who's drifting but doesn't know why. And subscribe to Psychology of Stoics if you want to build calm strength, long-term discipline, and a mind that doesn't fold under pressure. Because the goal isn't to become better than others, it's to become unrecognizable to your old self.